I'm Courtney. We're a family of 5 trying to grow as much of our own food as we can, and we raise chickens. Our kids wanted to name our little backyard farm, so we did. It's called Heart Pine Farms. There are a few tricks to having a large harvest of perfectly shaped, organically grown carrots. We'll share what's worked for us over the years, from sowing the seeds to harvesting and preserving a year's worth of carrots. We're not experts, but we've grown carrots through trial and error in our garden and hope the things we've learned will be helpful in your quest to growing amazing carrots. It's January 21st and we're out here for our winter harvest of carrots today. This 4x8 raised bed has Danvers carrots in it that we planted in late August, early September. We could have harvested these a little bit earlier here in Zone 7B, upstate South Carolina. But since we haven't had time, our raised bed has been basically acting as a refrigerator to keep these carrots until we are ready to harvest. We have harvested a few here and there for fresh eating and for use in recipes, but I like to harvest these carrots all at once because I like to preserve them. They taste so good and canned in jars. These are Danvers carrots. They're great for canning. Before we start harvesting, I wanted to give you some growing tips. I like to plant my rows of carrots with a few seeds every few inches. Carefully and methodically planting this way as opposed to broadcasting an entire row saves a lot of seeds and saves time during the thinning process. After my rows are planted, I put boards on top of the moistened soil. The boards help keep the soil moist, which is important because the seeds are barely covered with soil and they need moisture to germinate. The boards also prevent the tiny seeds from washing away during heavy rain. During dry weather, I just water right on top of the boards and the water slowly seeps into the soil and underneath to water the seeds. I watch closely for germination and remove the boards when there are seedlings. The boards can also be propped up and over the seedlings to protect them from the heavy rain until they get bigger, or provide shade if it's really hot. The board method can help increase your chances for 100% germination dramatically. When the carrots are ready to be thinned, I wait until the seedlings are around 6 inches tall because they're easier to thin this way and the chickens love to eat the tops. We also get baby carrots for salads this way. Carrots need loose, loamy soil in order to grow, so adding compost at the time of planting and removing all obstructions like stones will help. I always make sure to water deeply during really dry weather, but I also try to make sure the soil isn't too soggy. Carrots require more potassium and phosphate than nitrogen for root development. If you have repeated seasons of small carrots but beautiful carrot tops, you may have too much nitrogen and too little potassium and phosphate. A soil test might be beneficial in that case. We've never had to fertilize our carrot beds, but adding compost at the time of planting has always been the key in our raised beds. Okay, we're gonna harvest these carrots now, and I brought this basket out here. I'm gonna put all of the carrots in this basket and hose them off before I bring them inside. It's a super convenient basket for carrot harvesting. Okay, so how do you know when your carrots are ready to harvest? I guess a good way is to look at the days to maturity on your seed packet, number one. It might take a little bit longer than that if you're growing them like this through the fall and winter. So another way is to just look at them. You can tell these are like sticking out of the ground. You can tell that they're a really good size and they're ready to be pulled out for sure. If you leave them in for the winter time, you definitely want to harvest them before they start bolting in the spring because the carrots just aren't as good that way if they go too far. So the greens have died off because of really cold weather. We covered them with frost blanket when the temperatures went down to 3 degrees during the big freeze that happened around Christmas time. We lost some of the greens, but there still are some that are okay. So when we remove these greens before we bring them inside to start the processing process, we are going to give these to the chickens because the chickens love these greens. It's amazing how much they love them. It's a nice treat, especially in the winter time. So here's the first one that we're going to pull out. I kind of just wiggle it around a little bit right here just to kind of loosen up the soil this way and just pull them right out. This is a beautiful Danvers carrot. So Danvers carrots, they don't get as long, but you can tell they're a really good size. That's why they're excellent for growing in raised beds. Another beautiful one right here. It's a little itty bitty one. We'll save that one for salads. Some tiny ones here too. So I brought a trowel out because sometimes when the greens die off, it's hard to pull them up sometimes, especially when they're bigger. So being careful to not damage the carrot, you can kind of loosen the soil around it a little bit, and then it's easier to pull out. Ah, that's a beautiful one right here. I wish you could smell these. They smell so nice and sweet. Look at these beauties. Wow, that's a beautiful, look at that. These are beautiful carrots for being grown in raised beds. But carrots just love this loamy soil. So look at this one. Check out this huge worm. Now you know you have healthy soil when you see huge worms like this when you're pulling carrots out. Yep, tons of amazing huge worms in here. Nice, put them back in. There you go, little guys. We're done harvesting these carrots out of this raised bed, and you can see how many we've harvested from one 4x8 raised bed. If I were to guess, I don't have a scale out here, but maybe 50 pounds worth of carrots right here. That's a lot of carrots that we're going to take inside and can right now. As far as this raised bed, just like all of our other winter harvests, we're going to remove as many weeds as we can and then heavily mulch it using mulch from the woods behind us. Fallen pine needles and leaves. We just heavily mulch it, and that helps prevent winter annual weeds and spring weeds and loss of soil. I'm just gonna hose these down before I bring them inside. Look at how pretty they are. You guys, these carrots are so pretty. They smell so good. First, we fill the sink up with water and soak the carrots to remove any remaining soil. Then, we peel the carrots and soak them one more time in clean water. We slice them into pieces about 1/4 to 1/2 inches thick. It's really up to you how thick you want to slice them. We then put the sliced carrots into a big pot of water and boil them for 5 minutes. We're canning quart jars today. If you're planning ahead and you weigh your harvest, you can plan on around 3 pounds of carrots for every quart jar, maybe a tiny bit more. We put the carrot slices into hot sterilized jars and top with boiling water. You can use the cooking water from the pot of carrots, but we find it has a cloudy appearance in the jars. It won't affect the quality of the carrots themselves, it's just an aesthetic preference. We check the headspace to make sure it's exactly 1 inch. Next, we wipe the jar rims, add the lids, and tighten the bands just to fingertip tight. We add the jars to our prepared pressure canner. We strictly follow guidelines from sources like Ball to make sure our home canned food is safe, and that's what we highly recommend. Each time we pressure can, we follow the instructions that came with our canner to ensure safety every time. We process at 15 psi for 30 minutes for quart jars, and that's based on our altitude. Look at how beautiful these carrots are. We just canned these straight out of our garden. Our 4x8 bed yielded 15 of these jars like this, and we have 3 more beds of carrots to go. So if you plan it out right, you can have enough carrots to last you for the whole entire year and eat them pretty much every week. We hope that some or all of our carrot growing learning experiences will help you grow amazing carrots. If you have carrot growing tips you swear by, please share them in the comments.